exercise next Tuesday night. Turn Down a Craving. We have Adult Wilderness Survival. That's the same night as Turn Down a Craving. So you're going to have to decide which you want to do. Teens are in the afternoon. So sign up for that. We have computer classes now. We have card making class. All kinds of stuff. There's some flyers over there. There's calendars over there. If you were in the book reading club, tonight you can get a little ticket thing and you go upstairs and put in your name into the jar of what you want to win at the end of the book reading, which is the end of July. There's a Fitbit. There's a bunch of $50 gift cards, all kinds of neat stuff.
Nice.
All right, this is Angie, and I think she can introduce herself better than I can, and I'm going to let her tell us about tapping. Yes. Yes. Hold on. Hang on a minute.
All right. I'll just follow you.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Okay. So just see me after
All
if
right.
you want. If you're on the summer reading program for a coupon. Okay, Angie, I'll let you begin.
I'm Angie Hernandez. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I practice in Milford, Indiana. I started out in Milford when we bought our shop as a florist, but as time went on and I got a little older, things didn't work out exactly the way I thought. And so what was really great that came out of it is I started this new career. And I've been doing this for about 6 years now with hypnosis. Along with hypnosis, I always teach my clients methods like tapping that they can calm themselves and deal with strong emotions and traumas, things that happen to them on their own. Because I don't think they should be tethered to me for a lifetime. They should learn how to deal with most things on their own and continue to come to me whenever they need to. But it's great to have tools in your toolbox. Tapping is one of my favorite ones. Tapping came about in the 70s when a psychologist had been reading about the energy meridians that run through the body. And there's 7 energy meridians. We know that's true. It's not just woo-woo. Because if you go to the hospital because you have a heart issue, the first thing they do is hook you up and they test the electrical energy in your heart, right, to see if it has problems. If you have a concussion and you go to the hospital, first thing they do is they hook up your head and they test the electrical energy in your brain. So we know that the body runs on electrical energy, electrical impulses. It runs everything in our body. And as this psychologist had been reading about that, he had a client who was dealing with a fear of water. And he'd been helping her for over a year, and yet that wasn't improving. She was getting worse. And she was in tears, telling about a strong emotion about water. She was beginning to even be afraid of rain. And because he'd been reading about this, he asked if he could tap on her face, and she described that the physical feeling of it was in her stomach. And so he had read that this acupuncture point under the eye relates to the stomach. And he tapped while she described it with a strong emotion, what was happening to her. And in a very short time, she just stopped the tears. She felt better. And the next time he saw her, she was so improved, she put her feet in his pool. She couldn't even walk by the pool before. So as he decided to follow that up, and he and another colleague developed what they called emotional freedom technique. You might hear it described that way, EFT. And now we just kind of call it tapping as our own kind of lay, I guess, slang. But you hear tapping more than emotional freedom technique. Originally, they developed this whole curriculum where you tapped on the points that related to where you felt the emotion in your body. But that was pretty complicated. So then they decided, let's try to just cover a number of points that relate to most of the body's organs and see what happens there. And that's how this technique I'm going to teach you tonight developed. It's a series of acupuncture points that you tap on with your fingers while you talk about a problem you have. And that can be anything from an emotional upset trauma, something that happened or something you feel, all the way to physical pain or improving your eyesight. We don't even know everything it works for because it seems to work for everything. So in the tapping world now, the saying is tap on everything, see what happens. We even circuit tap. We tap for someone else or for animals. We can tap on animals or we can circuit tap for them. So there's many applications of it. The reason why it works is because when you talk out loud about something that bothers you, the emotion begins in the brain and then it's sent out to your body, right? So when you talk about something that bothers you, the emotion that you felt of that bothersome thing comes up, and then you tap on the acupuncture points, which short circuits that loop of electrical energy that goes from emotion to your body, emotion to your body, emotion. It seems like it's on a loop that never ends. You interrupt that with the tapping. You break that circuit. And so the amygdala, that little part of your brain, kind of an almond shape they describe it as, that's the part that sends out the feel-good hormones. It's kind of, it's attached to fight or flight, the amygdala is. You interrupt the signal, and so that it can calm down and send out feel-good hormones like serotonin. And it just calms everything down, and pretty soon you feel really good. Not even pretty soon, very fast. It works very fast. You can do it on your own for most general problems. If you have a big problem, like the Veterans Administration has approved this to use with soldiers that come back with PTSD. That's often a multifaceted problem, like a diamond that has all these facets. PTSD usually has different parts to it. There's shame, there's fear, there's anger, lots of different emotions. And those have to be tapped on separately. That might be best done with a practitioner. But that doesn't mean that if you have PTSD, which doesn't have to come from war, it can come from an experience you have in everyday life, and you wake up in the night with a flashback, that doesn't mean you can't tap down that fear response you have in that moment. You certainly can. You certainly can. And I wish that small children all learned this so they could deal with problems that they have from young up, because the young are very accepting. They learn this really quickly. And boy, I really think our young people need a tool to deal with it. They're under a lot of stress these days. I'm seeing a lot of them. So I know that's true. So let's learn all about it. First, I'm going to tell you, this is my website, IndianaHypnosisCenter.com. If you want to follow me and see my blog posts and everything that's going on, you can go to that website and subscribe to my site. I'll give you a free hypnosis recording for relaxation just for doing that. And every week I'll send you a little blog post and info on what's happening and what's new in the hypnosis world. All right. So let's just get right into it. Learn the technique. Some of you, this page will seem very familiar. And if you need a pen, I think I'll have some.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anyone need a pen?
I think I brought one this time.
I need one.
Anyone else need a pen?
All right, good. So the front of that, I'm just going to show you the tapping points. And then we'll talk about the method. At the very top, you see the top of the head. Even though that looks like it's the first one, that's the one I do last. And the one we start with is the one on the side of the hand there that says karate chop. We're going to do the karate chop point first. And with that, we do a setup statement that I'm going to teach you in a few minutes. And then we don't use that one anymore. We use it in the beginning, and then we're done. After that, we'll go to what we call the rounds, which is all the rest of the point. And there we'll go round and round until we feel like we want to stop. So we'll do the eyebrow, which is where the eyebrow starts right on that optic bone, right on the bone. Inside of the eye, where the eyebrow ends, on the bone as well. Under the eye, It's right here midway. That's also on that bone. Under the nose, it's kind of halfway here, as if you had a mustache, right here. It's so forgiving. It doesn't matter. I like to do it with 2 hands just because I get kind of OCD about it. When I do this, you'll see me switch back and forth because it doesn't feel even. It doesn't matter. It's very forgiving. So do it any way that feels right to you. And the chin point is where this crease is, right there. And collarbone's a little trickier. First find those 2 bony spots. And then come down about 1 inch and come out about 1 inch. And in that area, somewhere, you might have to tap around a little bit, you will find a spot that you feel. And when I tap here, I feel it through my shoulders and it goes all the way down to my toes. Some points might speak to you more than others. This one's a good strong one for me. Under the arm is just kind of right here for a woman where your bra ends. To me, it's kind of a natural place where my hand goes. That's another one I feel strongly. And then top of the head or the crown of the head in a little circle. That's the 3rd best one for me. I feel that all through my body. The face ones, for me, not so much. But each person has points that speak to them. So your points, you might like some of these face ones better. All right. All right, so now flip your paper over. I'm just going to give you the method. And you won't understand it all. That's okay. Once we do it, you will. The first thing we're going to do is write a sentence about the issue that you want to tap on. You're going to write a sentence, and I have a little trick on how to do that. My trick is you decide on the problem. Think of a pain that you might have had before. What kind of pain have you ever had? Back pain? Mm-hmm. Sure, back pain. Let's say you have back pain today. Hold your hand out in front of you and imagine that back pain sitting in the palm of your hand. And just first impressions, let come what comes. Write down what shape is it. Then what color is it? Does it have a texture? Does it have a voice? If it has a voice, what's it saying? Whose voice is it? And you never know what you might hear when that happens. And so once you've written that down, that's the key to writing your sentence about what it wants to be. So let's say, for example, one day I had a little headache. I'm kind of a baby about headaches because I don't get them very much. But I decided to tap on it. And my headache, I decided, was like a tack. One of those old-fashioned tacks that has a round head and a point through the middle. Because it was like around my head on this side with a pointed pain right down. So the shape was a tack. The color was red. It was smooth. It didn't have a voice, but it's important to ask yourself that question because sometimes that's a real key to know something else is going on. If it has a voice, and whose voice is it? Is it the voice of an old teacher? Is it one of your parents? That can be a clue to something that's underneath the surface. So I would make my sentence from this. Now, your sentence is just going to take these words here and add to it what you know to make a sentence. So I would have written, I have a headache that's shaped like a tack. Maybe I would say a red smooth tack with the sharp pain going right down the center. And then the next step is to say that sentence out loud and decide, does it sound right to you? Does it need to be tweaked? If you need to change the wording a little bit so that it sounds, oh, that describes my headache right on, then change it up a little bit. But this kind of gives you a starting point. Even if those things seem funny and weird, I'm telling you this will help you.
And it's important to say it out loud?
Yes, you want to say it out loud. You want to say it out loud. So when you think you have the sentence as true as it can be, then I'm going to ask you to say it out loud one more time and rate it 0 to 10. And write that down as well. 0 is non-existent, it's gone. 10 is the problem so severe I probably should be in the ER. So then give it a rating. Write it down. Why do we write down the rating? Because this method works so fast. Lots of times when you're done, you don't believe it was that bad to begin with. You don't trust yourself. You just don't believe it. And you want to believe it. Because then you'll use it again and again. And you'll get better at it. And it'll be easier and easier to overcome your own problems with this. So write it down. Write down the sentence and write down what you rated it. Okay. And then you're ready to start the tapping. And to begin the tapping, the first thing we do is a setup statement. And this I want you to take down verbatim. Your setup statement. And that is, even though I and in here is where you'll describe your problem. At the end, I want you to say, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this headache, blah, 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 I deeply and completely love and accept myself. If you go online, if you YouTube, or you go on and look at scripts, you're going to see hundreds of places that have tap-alongs, like we're going to do tonight, where I say the words, and you repeat the words. You'll see scripts. And they may say it a little differently from that. But you're a beginner. And you'll probably hear me say it a little differently tonight. But it's important to say it this way. And if you can't think of another way to say it, fall back on this. The reason why I really like this, especially for beginners, your subconscious doesn't understand that you deeply and completely love and accept yourself. You might not even understand that. You might have a problem saying that to yourself. Anybody think why you might have a problem saying that to yourself? Why do you think?
You don't believe that.
You don't believe it. Why don't you believe it?
You don't think highly of yourself.
No. You think you're not perfect enough to love and accept yourself. But if you don't love and accept yourself, how can you ever want to improve? If you hate someone, do you do things nice to them and try to help them better themselves? Probably not. You're probably kind of harsh to them. So if you don't think of yourself well, how could you ever improve? All this means is that even though I'm not perfect, even though I have this problem, and I probably have a lot more flaws, I can love and accept myself right where I am in this moment. Doesn't mean I can't do better. It doesn't mean someday I won't see things from a different point of view. But right now, I can love and accept myself. You need to love and accept yourself where you are, even with your flaws. Because if you're trying to be perfect, can you be perfect? Can any of us be perfect? No. So if you hold yourself to a standard of perfection, every day you're going to be disappointed and upset with yourself. That's not right. We weren't set up to be perfect. We're not wired for perfection. We're wired to learn and improve, but to never be perfect. So by loving and accepting yourself and saying these words to yourself, you'll be surprised at how your own attitude will change and how much happier you'll be. It isn't a statement of, I can't do better. Not at all. It's a statement of, I'm good enough today, and I'll keep working on it. All right? This is times 3. You'll be saying the statement 3 times as we do our setup. And this is where you're going to be doing the karate chop point as you say this 3 times. And the next step will be negative rounds. You'll see that when we do it, it'll make more sense. We're going to be tapping on all those points we talked about, talking about the issue, talking about the problem. And here's where you really want to get specific and whine and complain. All that stuff you're not supposed to do, really. You're supposed to be positive and always say nice things to other people. Now's the time to complain and say all the stuff that's deep down. Because we want to unhook that by the tapping. We want to break that circuit. And this is how you do it. And when we get to a place where we've, okay, I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say, then we stop, take a deep breath, go back to our original sentence, that one at the top, say it out loud again, and rate it one more time. And when you do that, you're going to see probably a shift in that number that you started with. And then you have a decision to make. You can say, well, I really like to shift that number some more. I'd like to bring that down some more. Okay, go back and tap a little more, a few more negative rounds. Dig in a little deeper. Come out and do the same thing. Take a deep breath. Say your original sentence out loud again. Rate it one more time. And decide then, do you want to go back and do some more? Are you happy with that number? Do you think you can live with that reduction in the problem, the pain, or the emotion? If you think you're at a good stopping place and you're content with your number, then do next step, positive round or 2, just to finish it off. Usually your number comes down a little bit more at that point. And that's all there is to it. It might seem a little complicated as we talk about it, but we're going to do it now.
There's not a time limit on any of these things.
No, there's not do 3 rounds, then stop, take 2 seconds. That's why it's great. Because you take the time you need, and you keep going back to the well if the problem isn't taken care of. If you don't do the points in order, if you get mixed up, which I used to do a lot when I started, no big deal, it works anyway. And I was doing a workshop a couple of years ago, and we're tapping along, the whole group we're tapping, and I look out in the audience and everybody looked confused. I realized I'd skipped half the points and I went down to the ones I liked best, but it still worked. It's very forgiving. That's why I really love it as a tool. And the truth is, you could probably just tap on your favorite point, the one that you feel the strongest, in a stressful situation, and still get relief from that.
You can do that and like do this and say, oh, this is better, you know, you can just, okay.
I know because I've done it a long time. I know what feels best to me. And you'll come, if you practice this, you'll come to it. For a lot of my clients, I finished up with a client last week, and her big problem was based in anxiety. And she'd let that build up over her workday. So I told her what I tell everybody. If you don't come and tell me that you don't have time to tap, because you work and you have children, she had all of those. I said, I know you go to the bathroom, even if you're at work. If every time you go into the restroom, you give me 60 seconds of tapping, just 1 minute, and all you have to say is, this stress, this stress, this stress, this stress, around all the points, just for a minute. She came back to me. She followed my advice. Some people don't follow my advice, but she did. And it made a huge difference to her. Every time she was in that restroom, she was releasing that buildup of anxiety that was driving her to the compulsion we were working on. And she was like a different person. She was all calm. And even her complexion was relaxed. And I mean, the first day she came to me, about every minute or so, she was on the verge of tears. She was really uptight. And this was a big stress buster for her throughout her day. So if you come to me with the excuse of, I don't have time, I don't know what to say, I'm not going to be very sympathetic to you. You know, because you don't have to. This is what I think is a great thing to start with. But if you can only do that, the stress, if that's all you can bring yourself to do, do that. That'll make a huge difference. It seems simplistic, and it is, but it works. So let's try it. What I'd like is a volunteer who has some strong emotion that we can tap down. That might be something you're angry about, something you're anxious about. Don't bring me something you're happy about, because we don't need to tap that down. That feels really good.
Can you tap things up?
Well, when you tap the bad stuff down, the good stuff taps up. Yeah, yeah. Come on now, somebody's got to be angry at someone, or frustrated, or worried. Worried's a good one. I can't do it to myself. You have to see it work on someone else that I don't know.
Okay, I'll go.
All right, come on up.
Oh, up there?
You bet, right up
I
here.
changed my mind. I don't want to move.
Don't encourage that now. All right.
Okay.
You stand over
I don't
here.
have my mission statement in front of me.
You don't need to.
Okay.
You're just going to echo what I do. I'm
Okay.
going to do it all for you.
Okay.
So let's find us some space on here.
It's the talking out loud. Like sometimes if I'm just doing it, you know, but I guess if you can kind of whisper talk, you know.
If you need to, yeah, if you need to do that. We're not going to do it that way now, but I'm going to tell you what to say, so it'll be all right. It doesn't matter how loud, but the point of saying it out loud, especially when you're a beginner, is that when you voice it and you hear it, you bring that emotion up. That's the important part. Bring up the emotion that you're trying to change. And it comes out in your body, and that's when you tap that down, you feel the calmness come over you. So tell me, just give me a rough, short, I don't have to know everything about it.
Stress at work.
Stress at work, that's a good one. And that's kind of a good way to give it kind of a movie title like that. Stress at work. All right. Hold that hand out in front of you. Imagine, put your stress right out here on the palm of your hand, floating above the palm of your hand. Tell me what color it is.
Red.
What shape is it?
Cone.
Does it have a texture?
No, not really. I'm not seeing a texture, so it's just the pointed
Okay.
cone.
Mhm.
And screaming.
Oh, it's screaming.
It's
What's it
screaming.
screaming?
It's screaming. It's
What
a
is
work
it?
environment.
What
It's
is it
just,
screaming?
oh, my name, I don't know.
Screaming
It's
your name?
screaming, negatives, my name, yeah, just screaming, yeah.
All right. Whose voice is it?
A lot of people's.
Oh,
That's
okay.
just it,
Work,
yes.
work
Work voices.
voices. Okay. All right. All right. So usually I make you make up your own sentence, but I'm going to do it for you tonight. I'll say it and then you repeat it. I have this stress at work,
I have this stress at work,
and it's like a cone with a pointed end that's red,
like a cone with a pointed edge, and it's red,
and it's screaming in these work voices.
screaming work voices.
That sounds,
Yeah.
0 to 10.
Oh, well, right now I've been off a couple of days, so I'll just give it a 7.
A 7. Okay, that's a good number for us to work on tonight. Okay, good.
It's been Friday afternoon, I've been screaming 10.
It won't be this Friday because I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. All right, so now we're going to, and I want you all to participate. I'll say it, and then you all say it with us.
I take these off.
That's
so I can
fine.
Get my
So you can really get those eye points. All right. Even though I have this stress at work,
Stress at work.
and it's like a red pointed cone, it screams at me in these work voices.
screams at me in work voices.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have the stress from work, and I feel it in my body, and I know it's not doing my health any good,
And I know it's not doing my health good.
I still deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I still deeply love and accept myself.
Even though I have the stress in my body,
Even though I have this stress in my body,
this red pointed cone that screams,
it's red pointed cone screams.
and sometimes I feel like it's on my last nerve.
And
Sometimes I feel like it's on my last nerve.
Like Friday afternoons.
Friday afternoons.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
This stress. This stress. I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
At work, I'm always stressed.
At work, I'm always stressed.
Why do they have to yell?
Why do they have to yell?
It feels like it's ringing in my ears.
It's like it's ringing in my ears.
It's like an amplifier hours afterwards.
It's like an amplifier hours afterwards.
And sometimes I feel like even when I'm dreaming, I'm hearing that. I don't want this kind of stress.
I don't want this kind of stress.
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good.
I wish they could just tone it down.
I wish they could tone it down.
I wish I could tone them out.
I wish I could tone them out.
I'm just ready to let this go.
I'm just ready to let this go.
I'm ready to let all the stress go.
I'm ready to let all the stress go.
I'm going to let it go now.
I'm going to let it go now.
Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Let it go, let it go.
Deep breath. Say it again. I have this stress at work. It's like a red pointed cone screaming at me in work voices. 0 to 10.
4.
Awesome.
It puts things in perspective, you know.
That's part of it.
It does, yeah.
That's part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes
And
if you would say that stuff, you work yourself up into a deeper
Yeah,
frenzy.
but
But when
this
you
is
break
really-
the circuit,
yeah.
then it's up with the frenzy, and then breaks the circuit, and you can calm down. Well, I think we can bring that down a little more. Let's do a few more negative rounds. All right?
Yeah, those negative runs are kind of.
Hey, I know you're not supposed to whine and be a complainer. This is where you whine and complain, as if you were talking to your best girlfriend or your spouse, and just say all the bad stuff you want. You start out general. Remember, I started out this stress, and start getting more and more specific. Let's do a little more specific. When I see myself in the mirror, I see the stress in my face. It's making me old. I don't want to be that old stressed person.
I don't want to be that old stressed person.
I want to start youthing, not aging. And this work stress isn't doing me any good. I think I'm just going to let them do whatever they want to do. I think I'll give myself a gift. The gift of a new reaction to work stress, which is calmness, and letting go, and just ignoring them. I can be neutral to them. I can mute all those voices and just be in myself and do my job. I think I'll let all that go. Let it go, let it go, let it go.